Hi, welcome back to this week's review preview show. We are here live at the Photography, Web Design, and Much More Studios in McDermott, Ohio, where they do family photography, weddings, restoration. So I just wanted to throw that out there since we've recorded here live for the last 3 weeks. Very honored for that. We were at Elks previous to that. We're more than welcome to come to you. Next week, we will be recording live from American Legion Post 23 in Portsmouth, Ohio. So stay tuned in for that as we honor our veterans. Today, we got some great content for you with a great interview with Lori Glaze Ministries with her book Shackles. We've even got some giveaways on that as well. So stay tuned in while we get this show on the road.
You want to poke it?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they...
Hey guys, welcome back to this week's review preview show. We're on our 5th show, and I just want to start rolling off a couple topics here. I want to start out with the man from Benton County who pretended to be a doctor to get some opioids. I don't know what to say about that, Mark.
Well,
we try everything, right?
yeah, and and then one of the comments I noticed, there's like, wait a minute, why would you do that and get your mugshot in a Bengals outfit? Because that Bengals already having enough trouble, and then now you're going to do that to them. So unfortunately, yeah, it's a thing. Impersonating a doctor or stealing a doctor's notepad and forging their signature. Thankfully, the pharmacist had a heads up because he called ahead, and a lot of pharmacies say if you're a physician, dial 2. And the pharmacist described in the story that the guy didn't sound like much of a doctor, the way doctors speak. And then when he presented himself there, he was very anxious. And so it was red flag city.
I wanted to touch on this story about science, and they were talking about they have finally came up with a way to put a head on another person's body.
You're not going to send a picture, are you?
Yep, I'm going to send you a picture.
All right, let's have a look at it.
All right. Here you go.
Why would you
It's
do
Halloween.
that?
It's Halloween. And they say it's science. You know, they talked about this for years about people being behind the scenes, and in the story, they actually talked about that they had put monkeys and rats' heads combined on, like, switched heads. I mean, they were doing all this crazy scientist stuff. So I just thought I'd add that mad little dash, you know.
Thanks.
I was walking through the lab late one night.
Yay, Halloween. Yeah, that was great. I can't unsee that. Thank you very much.
Well, now that we've talked about that, I want to talk about something more local.
Now wait a minute.
Okay.
All right. You're talking to a guy that watched I watched Gremlins, when I'm a kid.
Right.
And I was so freaked out by Gremlins when Goonies came out. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't even do that. And then and then you do this to me. So thank you very much.
Problem. Happy Halloween.
Over the last 2 years, hundreds have landed in the Summit County Medical Examiner's office.
My brother used to break in our house and steal the TV.
But now he's dead.
There is something more local. It's in Willersburg at the Cinema in Willersburg coming up. And that's where they're doing the film fest, the Writers Film Fest. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that was this past weekend, and so awesome. There is a Southern Ohio Screenwriters Guild that's actually based in Chillicothe. I guess anything south of I-70 is considered Southern Ohio, so based in Chillicothe. But it's good. It's good that there's that available, and for all you potential writers out there, screenwriters. When I was at Marshall University, we had a very active film festival and a lot of writers coming out of the university. But to know that that's available here is very exciting. I've been here I've been back home for a couple of years, and I had no idea. I'm a member of the Ohio Film Commission, the Wilmington Film Commission, and the North Carolina Film Commission. Had no idea that there was a Southern Ohio screenwriter. So that is really, really cool.
Yes, we will. That was our little short review for the week. Not as long as most. I know we usually get into more hot topics, but since we're going to toss into the interview with Lori Glaze Ministries, I wanted to end it there on that. And we wanted to show off this book, Shackles, so I want to kind of get a good view of it there. The pleasure of talking with Lori today and to find out a little bit more about this book and get some feedback from her. So Lori, if you want, I'm going to kind of toss this to you a little bit, and you can tell us just a little bit more about your story that we're broadcasting today.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. It has been quite a journey just getting here today, which kind of goes to show the trials and stuff that people face, which is basically what the book is about. It starts out with my personal journey, my testimony that the Lord guided and directed me to write about. I was very hesitant about putting all of my stuff in a book, but with a lot of hand-holding from the Lord, I did. And I'm really glad I did, because people that have read it have, the one consensus that I've heard the most is that it gave them hope. It gave them hope in the desperate situation that they found themselves in. I've heard from people that had a spirit of suicide on them. They related to that portion, I believe it's chapter 4 or 5, I can't really remember, where I suffered with that in my teenage years after suffering with other things. But seeing how the Lord has guided me and directed me to put it all in a book, it's astronomical to see that you think that you're the only one suffering with things, and then to hear such an enormous feedback from other people that this was a story of hope. That I had a gentleman state that he was abused as a child, and he's in his 40s now, and stated that reading my book gave him the courage to address this with his father, and that it's going to open up new avenues for him to come out of hiding, and so that the Lord can heal those broken places that we're afraid to bare ourselves to. It makes us vulnerable, and it's a very scary place to be, is in a very vulnerable state. But I believe writing the story and sharing it with people, God can and will heal what He has given access to. So that's kind of like an overall, without spending 4 hours like doing an audiobook here, which I could do, just give me a microphone. But that kind of gives an overall consensus of hope of what the Lord can do.
One thing, and I thought was kind of interesting, this was behind the scenes when I was talking to Lori, and she had mentioned things, which is also in the book, about going somewhere like Uganda. How did this, making these travels, because we talked about people not getting outside their neighborhoods, how did some of these things change you?
He has walked me through the fires and trials in my life, I think, to reach outside the four walls of my church. And one of those places was Uganda, Africa. You see it on TV, you see the little grass huts that the people live in, and the chickens running around in the dirt. And it is exactly like that. And it opened my eyes to say, it touched on a different level, because we are, as a society, we think that things are so bad. When they're there, people are starving every day. There was a family of 5. There was a husband and wife and 3 children that lived in a little grass hut that was probably no bigger than the size of a bathroom. And it had a dirt floor. They actually invited us in, and I was there with 3 other people from my church. And we took our shoes off, and we could all barely fit inside what they considered their home. So we was able to go and preach the gospel. And a friend of mine that I went with, Terry Morgan, she did a phenomenal job. She was there preaching. A lot of people come to know the Lord through that venture. It was very eye-opening to see what the Lord brought us. We went over on what looked like a canoe and had a leak in the bottom of it. So we're sitting there with our little cups and we're spooning out the water, and you don't even think anything about it. And I get home and my mom and dad looks at me and was like, oh my gosh, if I would have known that was the conditions. I mean, they were like freaking out. But the Lord gave us peace in all of that. I mean, I'm sitting there. I mean, we traveled for 2 straight days to get there. Planes, trains, and automobiles, legit. I mean, I'm not even kidding. And then you go on a boat that has a hole in the bottom, and you have all of your luggage and everything there, and you're just scooping out water, and it's not a big deal. It's the Lord truly gives you peace in those times. And looking back now, I'm thinking it had to have been the Lord, because otherwise, I'm like, get me out of this boat. So I do use that analogy in the book, how the Lord did draw me out of my boat, and it means something more special to me because He literally drew me out of a wet boat. So.
Well, I would, there's a question that a lot of people ask me over the years, is what is your process when you sit down to write a book? I get the question all the time, where does this come from? Do you start with a title? Do you start with an essay that just grows into a book? Or do you keep a journal and then put it all in together? What was your process writing this book?
It was all of the above. It was, honestly, I'm not a writer. I have limited college education. I went to Marion Franklin High School. Writing was not my thing. Yeah, it's like, woohoo. It was not my thing. So when I rededicated my life to Christ back in 2007, a couple weeks, this is also in the introduction of the book, the Lord started speaking to me about writing. And I was like, God, this is not my thing. And He just kept on and kept on. So I was like, okay, I'll start journaling. So it started out as journaling, and a couple weeks into it, he was reading another book laying there one night, and he told me, he's like, you're gonna sit here and read your book one day. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. So it did start as journaling. There was a lot of material that I wrote that I thought was going to be in the book after he told me it was going to be a book. And halfway through the process, he told me which chapters to gather up. And so I did. And he told me to go throw them in the fireplace. And that was very hard for me because I had spent 6 or 7 years at that time doing what I thought he told me to do, but he told me that was my healing process, and he remembers it no more. And it was just something for him and I. So you will see in the beginning of the book, I think the first 5 chapters, I share part of my testimony, but I also show how he healed me from all of that, how he walked through the fire with me. And that was when you will see a change in the book. And it goes from basically writing from a victim mentality, which I carried my whole entire life, to how we uncover those wounds for the Lord, to be vulnerable enough for Him to heal those. And that's the final 3 chapters of how do you get to those healing places. It's so easy to say, oh, the Lord healed me, and like it's some bumper sticker. It is a process. And if one is open to it, it's a wonderful thing, because God does call us to walk in the fullness and completeness of Him. He doesn't expect us to walk around as Christians carrying around the baggage of what we used to. There's also a chapter in there of who's your daddy. We as a society, we lack identity. We try to find our identity in our clothing. What name brand clothing do we have? What car do we drive? Who was our friends? And by having a lack of identity, we waffle through life from one thing to another. So He shows us how to find our identity, and it is found in Him. And once you find it in Him, everything else falls into place. So and then resting at His feet is the final chapter of out of everything that you do and you discover and you uncover and that you allow Him to do, how resting in Him and knowing that Jesus is the key to everything, that's the best place in the world to be. That's the final key in the chapters.
One thing, today we're having this interview, and I think it's a growing process.
Mm-hmm. This is stretching me. Trust me, this is stretching me beyond. I'm good behind my computer where I can methodically think out what I want to say. But to do this is the Lord is stretching me. So I hope this does touch someone and gives them the courage to step out in the faith that God is drawing them out into. Because if I can, anybody can.
Lori, if you can tell people where they can get this book, I'm going to kind of.
Sure, they can. They can get on. It's on Amazon. It is also Barnes and Noble. Any type. If you want to just type it in, I believe any of the bookstores. That's like they can get it. It's on Ingram's platform, so it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. They can go directly to my website, which is www.loriglazeministries.com. If they order it from my website, it is an autographed copy. They won't get that on Amazon, so if they want to do it there, they also get a letter from me stating that the book was prayed over and so forth. Gives them a little bit of information, Facebook page, whatnot. So
the nice, gracious thing that Lori did with us having this interview, she sent us 5 books on Shackles, so that way one of our viewers can get this. We have a big show coming up with veterans this next week, so what we would like to do is on the link or the, I'm assuming you're going to have this on Facebook, Mark, so they can go into the comments and nominate a veteran, whether they're present or gone. But whoever that name is that volunteers, that's who we're going to put in the drawing, and we'll pick 5 people to get this book. So that way this gets out to the hands of people that need it. And also, if you don't win it, at least you can go through Lori on Amazon and get it through that way too.
yes.
Yeah, we'll do it as a, you can nominate a veteran, or you can nominate in a veteran's name and give it to somebody as a gift in that veteran's name to honor our veterans, both living and fallen.
I really appreciate you guys having me on and taking your time. And Betty, it's like we were warriors this morning with this, I tell you. Just goes to show it's like, persistence is the key. So keep plugging along. But I really appreciate, Mark, you tuning in and doing your questions. And I really appreciate it, guys. I do.
It's our pleasure, and we're glad we're able to get the technical part worked out. And we'll have it on Facebook, we'll have it on our website, and we'll have it on our TV channel.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah, so then we can share.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, I just want to welcome back to our business shout outs with our partners in business. And we would like to give a shout out to Joey Sandlin and his Remax company. We would also like to give a shout out to Buzz and Daisies. Then on top of that, I would like to give a shout out to Breaches. And I'd like to also say, roll that footage. Breaches. Call them for all your septic and excavating needs. Breaches Septic Service. Welcome back to our preview. I just want to give a shout out to our upcoming events this week. Wednesday, November 6th, we will be at the American Legion Dickey Post 23, and we will be doing a tribute to our veterans. So again, if you can tune in live for that show, that'll be at 11 a.m. next Wednesday. We will also have some fellow veterans that we'll be doing interviews with, along with our commander there, Jimmy Pinson. Okay, Mark, and if we can talk to you about what's coming up with the trick or treat for Scioto County.
All right, so there's no trick or treat. No, I'm just kidding. There is trick or treat. All you little children and all you big children, there is going to be a trick or treat. But there is a contingency plan, and this is from our Emergency Management Association. Let me tell you something. A lot of people don't know that we have an Emergency Management Association in town, and I'm going to try to get an interview with them. They're a little bit shy, but they are fantastic human beings. I love them. They're fantastic. But they have a backup plan because we're supposed to get torrential downpours on Thursday. So,
okay.
With that being kind of over our head, then they have decided to do a backup plan for Saturday, from 5 to 7. There's going to be an announcement. We've got this show going now at 11. We're expecting an announcement between 12 and the time school lets out if we're going to have trick or treat tomorrow or if it's going to be Saturday. If it's Saturday, it will be between 5 and 7. And that is for the city and the county. New Boston had a conflict of interest, so they are not participating in that specific schedule. So you'll want to check with the village on that. But as far as the rest of the county, the backup plan is Saturday. But we'll know here in just a few hours of this broadcast what's going to happen. And it's not up to any politician. It's not up to, there's nobody to write a letter to except, Mother Nature. But it's up to the Emergency Management Association, and they're the ones making that call. And we expect that to come down today between probably 12 and 3 sometime.
Okay. All right, Mark. So one last thing I'd like to talk about is early voting. I'd like to talk about where you can go to have that done and what we need to plan for the upcoming week.
Well, with the early voting, they've changed the machines. So that's really good. It's going to be a lot easier to tabulate the votes. It's going to be a lot easier for you as an individual to vote. And it's going to make the calculations at the end very quick. And thankfully, this is a non-presidential election, so this gives them a chance to really do a good job and then be ready for presidential election next time. I actually voted today. I got my little sticker. I voted today. But the reason well, I wanted to learn the machine so I could tell you guys what to expect. So that's the reason that I did it. So I went ahead and voted today, got to play with the machines. And so now I can tell you how it works. And it's not difficult. I was literally, there was a lady there with me, and I'm not giving anything away. She announced herself as 80 years old, and she got done about the same time I did. And she's like, I don't do computers. I don't understand all this stuff. I'm 80 years old, but I'm going to try. And we finished about the same time. So, so it's not that big a deal. They give you a little card, and you stick it in the machine, and that brings up your ballot for your jurisdiction. And so then there's this giant screen that looks like a great big telephone, and you just push the little buttons. As you go down, you hit next, push the little buttons, hit next. Then it prints out a ballot in the printer right beside it. So you can then physically see your votes. And then if there's a change you want to make, you haven't voted yet, you're just reviewing it on paper. You're just taking a glance. Okay, yeah, I meant to do that. Yes, I meant to do that. Yeah, okay, all right, fine. Then you can say submit, and then you actually, no, I'm sorry, it doesn't say submit. It says cast your vote. And at that point,
do you get to keep that paper?
No, it's in the print.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and so I thought I was going to get a receipt. Frankly, I thought I assumed the same thing, but you don't. But you get to look at it because everybody's used to a paper ballot anyway. So it kind of gives you that. It's behind a piece of plexiglass, but you can see a paper version, a receipt. And so, you can put on your spectacles and look and make sure that everything's the way you want it. And if you want to make a change, you can. You're not voting twice. You haven't cast your ballot yet.
Yeah.
And so you look at it, and then you go, okay, that's what I meant to do. That's how I meant to vote. I'm good with that. This is fine. And then you hit the button, cast your ballot, take the little card out they give you, and Bob's your uncle. It's all done.
And that's different than what the electronic machines I've seen, like in Columbus, right? Because it sounds silly.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
And so there's somewhere you'd be able to view the ballot.
Right. So they have that additional printed element on actual paper for folks that are used to filling in the bubbles and then looking at it and then walking over and putting it in the box or tearing it up and say, I messed up, give me another one. So it still gives you that option to look at a piece of paper and make sure you voted the way you intended to vote before you hit the button that says cast my vote. So that's a great added benefit. And then when you do cast my vote, boop, it's done. So when the machines come in, the information has already been sent. They're just bringing the hardware in. So the information has already electronically been sent to the Board of Elections. So we are going to be broadcasting election night starting at 7:30 at the courthouse rotunda. And so those elections are going to be a great big screen set up, and everybody that votes ahead of time, like I did today, those votes will come up immediately. And
Okay.
then as the precincts start coming in, then it'll start rolling like a ticker, and you'll be able to see the precincts and then ultimately call the winner.
Awesome. Awesome. I look forward to part of that, or whoever you have out there for the team.
You know, it's good technology as far as the voting, and as far as the coverage of, we've been covering the elections and election night, and it's very important, and it's one of the most, well, no, I'm not even gonna say that. It's the most important thing that we as a citizenry, because I say it every time, choose your Portsmouth. And it starts with the local government. All right. You can vote for the governor, you can vote for the president, but there's so many people voting that your voice is teeny tiny. But when you're talking about your township trustees, when you're talking about your city council, your county commissioners, these things, your actual vote means something, and that is where government starts. And so
I agree with you 100% on that. Whether
yeah,
you agree or disagree about who gets in there, that's
right,
where who's putting your pothole or fixing your potholes. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right. Yeah, and it has nothing to do with political affiliation. I could care less. I just want you to vote, right?
Right.
Exercise your right to vote, because it matters. It matters. So
Yes.
we do the coverage, and we make the investment in the personnel to do good coverage of election night, because choose your Portsmouth. It's something I'm passionate about, and I want our viewers, I know they're passionate about, because that's where government starts.
Yes. Absolutely. All right. Well, I just want to close out with a good wrap up on. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope that you get back out there to the community and get to enjoy all the things that Sauter County has to offer. We are, again, excited for all of this that's going on in our area. And choose your Portsmouth. That's all I have to say today for that. Thank you for tuning in. Mine's going faster than my tongue can get it out. Awesome.